The headlines just flipped the political landscape again. A bold move on Social Security has stunned Washington, and it's sending ripples through the Federal Reserve. Retirees are relieved, but inside the marble halls of the Fed, tensions are high. While inflation dominated the news cycle, a sweeping change was quietly pushed forward, one that could put thousands back into the hands of America's seniors. The central bank's response?
Resistance!
While this initiative promised financial relief, the Fed's leadership is holding interest rates firm, threatening to dismantle the very progress just made. This isn't just an economic disagreement, it's a direct clash. Retirees and working-class families on one side, unelected financial elites on the other. At the heart of it is a Social Security adjustment no one saw coming, not just a routine cost of living increase. This shift in the 2026 COLA has already exceeded projections. Now, sitting above 2.5% and climbing, it's delivering tangible gains to millions who rely on SSI, SSDI, and retirement checks. But this wasn't some automated bureaucratic update, it was part of a calculated economic strategy. A move aimed at restoring stability for those who built the nation. And here's the twist. The same inflation that fueled this adjustment is now being used by the Fed to justify punishing interest rates. Those higher rates could quietly cancel the entire benefit, raising costs on loans, mortgages, and even basic necessities. So is this economic sabotage or institutional gridlock? Buried inside the same policy push was something even more significant. A sweeping tax deduction for seniors, $6,000 for individuals aged 65 or older. Double that, $12,000 for joint filers. For many couples, that translates to over $1,600 in real annual savings. And it goes further. An estimated 88% of those collecting Social Security benefits over the age of 65 will now owe zero tax on those benefits. This is the kind of shift that puts food on the table and breathing room in monthly budgets. But even as families start to see relief, another force looms. The Fed's refusal to lower interest rates threatens to chip away at every dollar gained. And the issue runs deeper than just policy decisions. Behind closed doors, billions are being spent on what many are calling outrageous upgrades to the Fed's own headquarters, including $2.5 billion for renovations reportedly including luxury dining rooms and decor. While working Americans scrape to make ends meet, billions are redirected into lavish meeting rooms instead of job creation or retirement support. The tension between Main Street and the central bank couldn't be clearer. The Fed claims to be fighting inflation, yet its actions, from unchecked spending to rigid rate policies, continue to pile pressure on ordinary citizens. Meanwhile, sectors like housing, small business, and personal credit are collapsing under the weight of high borrowing costs. Home buyers are being priced out. Local businesses can't expand. Lines of credit are drying up. This isn't just about numbers on a chart. It's about real people being pushed further from financial security. Americans aren't just watching the economy, they're living inside the consequences. And it's not just retirees. Younger families trying to buy their first homes, entrepreneurs chasing a dream, even students planning their future, all are being throttled by outdated financial policy. It raises a chilling question. If the public is hurting, and the data shows easing inflation, why is the Fed still hitting the brakes? Meanwhile, the push to cut rates is gaining steam. With $36 trillion in national debt and $9 trillion maturing this year alone, slashing borrowing costs is essential. Lower rates would bring down costs for the government, homeowners, and small businesses alike. Instead, interest rates remain frozen. And voices inside the Fed are warning that this refusal is hurting more than it's helping. This raises a bigger question. What happens when the head of the central bank defies a broader economic recovery plan? And who pays the price? The evidence is mounting. The pressure is real. And now, investigations are underway into that $2.5 billion spending spree. The Inspector General is probing the details, and lawmakers are calling for accountability. All of this, while seniors are finally catching a break from decades of neglect. Add to that growing housing costs, stalled development, and a credit market squeezed to the bone, and you begin to see the picture. High rates don't just suppress inflation, they suffocate opportunity. When homebuilders stop building because of expensive loans, supply dries up, prices climb. Housing inflation surges, which then feeds into Social Security adjustments. The result? A cycle where the Fed's own policy reinforces the problem it claims to solve. It's a loop that's crushing middle-class America. In contrast, the recovery framework now unfolding includes tariff revenues funding public benefit programs, direct deductions that leave seniors with more in their pocket, and a commitment to making retirement sustainable. In fact, the U.S. just posted a budget surplus, thanks in part to over $27 billion in tariff collections. That surplus isn't just a number. It's being applied to strengthen Social Security and reduce the debt burden. Yet, despite the progress, resistance at the Fed remains. And some insiders now believe a change in leadership may be the only way forward. With names already being floated as replacements, the countdown may have begun. So here's the question now echoing across Capitol Hill. Is it time for a new era at the Federal Reserve? Because right now, one side is pushing forward with policy that gives back to the people, and the other is digging in to defend the financial status quo. COLA increases, tax relief for seniors, and a surplus funded by economic leverage. These are not promises, they are already happening. But their impact hinges on what comes next at the Fed. The stakes have never been higher. The clock is ticking. Will bold reform win out? Or will the gatekeepers of the old system shut it down? That answer may define the future of retirement in America. Stay informed. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Like, comment, and subscribe to stay ahead of what's coming next.